welcome to your neurological assessment. Would you mind just telling me your model number? Wonderful. And how old are you? When were you first put online? There we go. Good. Excellent. And do you prefer to go by your model number, or do you have another name that you like to go by? Okay. And how do you like to be addressed? Good. Okay, thank you for that. So today we are performing a neurological assessment. During a droid's life, at times we may randomly implement these examinations in order to make sure that the droid is still running in tip-top shape. Now, your wires and nerves and all of your hardware is modeled after the human body. So because of that, we can actually use a very similar examination to what we can do with a human. This has come in quite handy because even a human medical professional can perform these examinations on droids. Makes it quite simple. So I'm going to be asking you a multitude of questions. If you could just do your best to answer with promptness and efficiency, I would greatly appreciate that. So firstly, what is the current date today? Very good. And where are we at currently? Excellent. And who is the current planetary chancellor? Very good. Now I am going to ask you to repeat a short list of words. If you could repeat gear, sprocket, laser, wrench. Gear, sprocket, laser, wrench. Okay, that all sounds just fine. Good. Now I'm going to have you remember a short list of words. I will ask you to recall this list at another point in the exam. So if you could remember these words: bay, asteroid, suit. Bay, asteroid, suit. Bay, asteroid, suit. Okay, keep those in mind. I'll ask you about them later. Now I am going to be putting some items on your display, and I'd like you to identify these items for me. What is on the display currently? The square. And what is on the display now? Star. Triangle. Trapezoid. Rhomboid. Good. Circle. Rectangle, excellent. Pentagon. nonagon, and a dodecahedron. Wonderful. Now we will still be working with the display, and I'm going to have you identify some colors. What color is on screen? Orange. Wonderful. Blue. What color is this? Red. Green. What color is this? Purple. Yellow. Turquoise. Burnt sienna. Chartreuse. Good. Last one of the colors. Vermilion. Wonderful. Now I am going to have you identify some numbers. Firstly, we're going to have them on screen. Then we're going to take away the screen display for a bit, and I'll ask you to identify the numbers in a couple other ways. Let's start. What number is on screen? 9. Good. What number? 3. What number? 0. 4. Good. 1. 8. Good. 7. 2. 6. And 5. Excellent. Now, I am going to trace some numbers on my hand here. I'd like you to follow what number I'm drawing on my hand. 8, good. 1. 0, good. 2, wonderful. 9. 3. 6. 5. 4. 7. Wonderful. Now I am going to trace these numbers across the display. I'm not going to put them in the display, but I will be tracing them over the display. And I'd just like you to identify them as best as you can. What number is that? 4. 2. 3. 1. 9. 7. Good. 6. 8. 0. 5. Wonderful. That was all quite good. Okay. Now, could you please recall those few words that I asked you to remember earlier? There were 3 words. Can you tell me what those words were? What words did I ask you to remember? Bay, asteroid, suit. Bay, asteroid, suit. Very good. Now, I'd like to test your language interpretation. So I am going to say a few sentences, and I'd like you just to repeat back what it means in English. Ich heiße Calliope und ich komme aus Amerika. Ich lerne Deutsch seit letzten März, denn ich möchte mit meiner besten Freundin Deutsch sprechen. What did those words mean? Okay, excellent. So language interpretation definitely intact. Now let's move on to a bit of memory. Now, could you please describe a recent event in your memory banks from the past 1 to 3 days? Okay, interesting. What did you say had crashed into the service bay? Oh my. Okay, ice chunk. That must be why I'm hearing some of those machines. I was wondering. Now, would you mind describing an event from the distant past or over 5 years in the past? Interesting. So, when you got serviced at one point, they put on the wrong hand? Not only the wrong hand, but they were backwards. Interesting. Well, they look fine to me now. Do they work for you quite well? Okay, it was rectified. Wonderful. That would be quite awkward. Now I'd like you to please interpret a human proverb for me. We'll test your abstract thinking a bit. The brain is like a computer. You please try to tell me what that means. The brain is like a computer. Okay, let me just note this down. Good. Okay. There we go. Now I am going to test some 2-point discrimination with you. We're going to test the sensory nerves with you. Now I'm going to do this both with my fingers, and I do have a couple of cotton buds here, so we can test the fingertip as well as the cotton bud. These are a little harder to feel. So I am going to either touch you in 1 or 2 places. 1 or 2 places. Just want you to tell me whether you feel 1 or 2 touches. 1. Good. 2. 2. 1. 1. 2. 2. 2. 2. Almost done. 1. 1. 1. 2. Good. Now let's test the cotton buds here. So let me just let you feel this from the side here, the side of the face. You can feel it's not very easy to feel that. So I'm going to touch you with either 1 or 2. 1. 1. 2. 1. 2. 2. 1. 1. 2. 2. 1. Wonderful. Good. Now I am going to have you copy some finger positions for me. So if you could just copy my hand and fingers doing this, okay, and this, good, how about this, and this, here, Mm-hmm. Good. Good. Yep. Mm-hmm. And maybe we can do that. Good. Very good. And can we do this with both hands? Okay, just copy the different positions. Good. Mm-hmm. Just like a table there. Good. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay. Good. Yep. Mm-hmm. Good. Mm-hmm. Good. Mm-hmm. Yep. Good. And just like that. Very good. Excellent. Now, I am going to run a little program in which you will be able to mentally draw a house. And this is from memory, and I will be able to see what you're drawing. Okay? So I am going to just run that. And if right in here you could draw me a house. Okay, can you draw me a house? Yes, this is a very simple but a very important test. Sometimes when there's something a little goofy going on, the image of the house might look a little strange, a little disjointed. So we want to make sure that your relationship between the objects, that everything is essentially symmetrical, that it looks essentially like a house. Okay. Give you just a little bit more time. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just want to see a simple house. Okay, you quite pleased with that? Very good. Okay, and that looks indeed quite like a house. There we are. Good. Now I am going to have you perform some math problems. I will once again put it up on the display for you. So if I could have you solve the problem 4 plus 6. We'll start out real simple. 4 plus 6. Good. And the next one is 7 plus 5. 7 plus 5. Good. And our next problem, 11 minus 3. 11 minus 3. Good. And what about 18 minus 9? 18 minus 9. Good. And what about 36 divided by 6? 36 divided by 6. Good. What about 64 divided by 16? 64 divided by 16. Good. And next we have 8 times 19. 8 times 19. Good. And what about 21 times 12? What is 21 times 12? Good. And what is the square root of 289? Square root 289. And what is the square root of 936? The square root of 936. Good. Last one, what is 18 divided by 0? 18 divided by 0. Hey. Are you feeling all right now? Functioning properly? Yeah, it's a bit of a trick question, that one, but it's one we have to execute with all of our droids. It would be quite odd if, when I asked to divide by 0, if you actually came up with a number. So let me just make sure. Some of the droids respond a little differently, so I just want to make sure everything's back online. We will be doing a little reset at the end, just to give you a bit of a spring cleaning. So if there is anything goofy, it'll likely go back to normal after that. No, that seems to be just fine. So where were we? Let me go ahead and take that program off. Don't want to be doing that again. So, would you mind, for our general knowledge question, could you please name the last 5 planetary chancellors? Mm-hmm. 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 Good. And what is this territory's capital? What is our capital? Okay, wonderful. Now, this seems like a bit of an inappropriate question, considering I just accidentally sort of restarted you. How have you felt your functioning has been today and in recent time? How has your functioning been? With humans, we ask how their mood's been. If that feels like a more apt question, you're more than welcome to answer that one. Just seems that functioning seems to be a little more black and white. Yes, besides the surprise system upset. Okay. Okay. So I would like you to follow a command for me. Now, firstly, I am going to have you follow a command that involves discriminating between left and right. So if you could please touch your left eye with your right forefinger and jut out your chin. Touch your left eye with your right forefinger and jut out the chin. Yes, that'll look a little interesting. We have the right forefinger touching the left eye and jutting out the chin. That is quite silly indeed, but your ability to follow commands is an important part of your operating. Now I'm going to ask you to do a number of movements. Partially this is to determine how well you can respond to commands. Part of it is also just to make sure that your parts are flexible and there's not any restriction or weakness. So if I could have you please nod the head. Good. And can you turn the head from side to side as if you are shaking your head no? Good. And can you please tilt your head to one side and then the other? One side, the other. Just a few, back and forth. Good. And can you look up to the sky? Rather the ceiling. The sky is kind of all around us right now. You could look up to the ceiling. And can you try to pull your chin as far to your chest as possible? You're a lot more flexible than me in that. Very good. Can you please shrug the shoulders? In humans, this is an important thing to test for. Test that the upper motor nerves are working just fine. This is the accessory nerve. Shrug the shoulders. Good. Can you lift the arms straight up in front of you? And can you move them as far back as possible? Again, you probably have an easier time than I do. Can you go to to the side so that the arms are parallel to the floor. And can you bring them all the way up so that the backs of the hands touch? Good. Okay. And can you make your arms into this right angle so that the upper arm is parallel to the floor and the forearm is perpendicular? Good. And can you just roll the wrists? Good. Now, could you please lift up the legs, the entire leg? And can you bend at the knee? Good. Just a few back and forth. Roll the ankles. Can you flex the toes up and down? I know that your hands are quite flexible since we had copied our finger positioning. Good, okay. And can you move the legs out to the side from the hip and back? Very good. So both the upper and lower extremities are working just fine. We have good head range of movement as well. Very good. Read a sentence on the screen for me. I'm going to have you read this aloud. I'm going to have you write it, and I'm going to have you repeat it. So, I'm going to put this up on screen. And if you could just tell me what this particular sentence says. Very good. Now I'm going to put another one up. And what does this particular sentence say? Good. And can you read this one aloud for me? Very good. Excellent. Now I'm going to have you write a few sentences, and if you could make these sentences have a subject, a verb, a direct object, and an adjective. You could make a few sentences involving those 4 parts of a sentence. That would be wonderful. I'll give you a moment and I will allow you just to write that. We need a subject, a verb, direct object, and an adjective. Okay, let me just check. Good. And if you could write another one for me. Subject, verb, direct object, and adjective. Good. And one more. Direct object and adjective. Good. Okay. Now I am going to have you repeat a few sentences for me. So if I could have you repeat, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The blue whale swims towards the island. The blue whale swims towards the island. Good. The heavy snowstorm covered the entire town. The heavy snowstorm covered the entire town. Excellent. Very good. So let me just double check. I think we've got everything. Let's see. So we had our mental status testing. Memory was good. Recall and attention, good. We had general knowledge, mood, ability to follow commands. We had the shape identification, colors, numbers. We had the bit of sensory testing with the 2-point discrimination. We had the ability to copy my finger positions, and you were able to draw a house. You did some simple and complex arithmetic, and you were able to move the head and upper and lower extremities with little problem. Your language interpretation was spot on. So I suppose the very last thing we have to do is do a nice reset. When's the last time you think you've had a reset? Yeah, they're not done often enough, I think. They do run you droids quite down to the bone, I think. So we're going to give you some rest, and we'll hopefully rectify any weirdness that happened when I tried to have you divide by 0, right? I hope you have an absolutely pleasant rest. Let me go ahead and get my little tool here. I'll just give you a nice countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, it would greatly help me out if you clicked the like button and left a comment so YouTube's algorithm registers that it was a good video. If you want to see more of my work, consider subscribing to the channel. I create primarily medical, pseudoscience / alternative medicine, and personal attention ASMR roleplays. But I've done a little bit of everything from historical to sci-fi to fantasy. If you'd like to support the channel, I offer ad-free videos, early access on videos, and exclusive content on Patreon. Or I also have a Ko-Fi link for a one-time donation, or a throne wish list for props and equipment. Thank you again, and I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your